Hi, my name is Eisen, and my partners are Zach and James. And our song is Changes by Tupac, and the genre is going to be hip hop, and I'm covering verse 1. So, the very first lyric of verse 1 is I see no changes, wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living or should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor and even worse, I'm black. So, in this one, he's talking about how growing up in poverty and especially with being African American during that time is very difficult, and is it even worth living at that point if you're poor and you get mistreated because of the color of your skin? It's very difficult for him, and he definitely goes. You can definitely see that in how he explains it in the very first verse, and the whole song is about mostly just violence and how we need to help each other, but it also sees how broad perspective and everything. He wants to get rid of things, but he also wants to save things and make changes. And for the second lyric I chose from verse 1 is my stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a purse to snatch. So there's actually a background story to this lyric. So Tupac would actually go to the back of a restaurant, knocking on the back of the door, begging for food, and he said that he would go to the back of the door knocking and singing, begging for food. And throughout the weeks that he would do that, the song eventually evolved from knocking on the door, begging for food, to eventually where he started like rapping about breaking in and taking money and begging for food. And I can see from how this verse, how poverty can come to desperation just to survive and feed yourself. And that's very difficult for a person who needs to survive and is especially poor and mistreated. And for my third verse from verse 1, I chose first ship them dope and let them deal to brothers, give them guns and step back and watch them kill each other. So in this one, he shows how the government he explained he shows how the government would like push drugs into those kinds of communities purposefully, and friends would become enemies because one was making money and one was like an addict, and one would kill for the drugs and the other one would sell and possibly kill other dealers. What That's what explains the part that watch them kill each other and deal to brothers. And it would just destroy the community because the government didn't want to help out the poor communities that much. So they'd rather have it just be a blank slate instead of having to waste resources on those kinds of communities. And for my other verse, right, my last verse for verse 1, I have learned to see me as a brother instead of two distant strangers, and that's how it's supposed to be how supposed to be. How can the devil take my brother away from me? And in this one, he touches on the points of like how we need to be there for each other, and how we can, if we're closer, we can save each other faster from the bad things like drugs and violence. And he just wants everyone to help each other out and be more neighborly and be close as possible, kind of like family. That's it for verse 1, and if you just walk with me.
Understanding and analyzing. For my understanding about take the evil out in the people that be acting white, this explains the crime from black and white people to change their ways, but nothing changed and will always be the same with violence and drugs. And for my analyzing, try to show another way, but you stay in the dope game. It means the way the lyrics tells about them doing good things and bad things in their hometown. They try to do the opposite way to make their town be different, but couldn't, and still be the same from their action. And now we move on to
My name is Zach. I have verse 3. And I never get to lay back because I always got to worry about the payback. Some book that I roughed up way back, coming back after all these years. And in this line, he used personification to show an example of this by a young buck, or as in like a young deer, like a buck that I roughed up. And for this, he's kind of like reflecting on his past, and I mean, a lot of rappers face the same constant struggle as choices they made back in their youth come catch up to them, and they end up regretting it later, way later in life. Like Tupac, he was in his 30s when he died. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, Young Dolph, he passed away at 36. And my next verse, but tell the cops they can't touch this. I don't trust this. When they try to rush, I bust this. That's the sign of the tool. You say that ain't cool? My mama didn't raise no fool. And he applies this thought process to his life, his lyrics, really all of his actions. He has the constant same theme as not supporting the police, if anything, anti-government, anti-police, constantly just working towards that they're just out to get us and just break us down and make us less of a community, and basically legal thugs. That's what the police are. Those words.